Are they going to put Geno out there? Are they going to put Drew Lock out there? No, they're not. They're not. They're not going. Not on purpose. They're setting themselves up to be in the sweepstakes for Deshaun Watson. I think that these pieces that they're putting together are the pieces that they're going to need to work with the Houston Texans to get Deshaun Watson. I think that Pete will assume the best and think that Deshaun's legal issues will get resolved in the near future before the draft. And they can make a trade with the Houston Texans using some of the pieces, not all of them, some of the pieces that they just got for Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson gets a fresh start.
Before we dive into the context, I really appreciate now. Richard his career might be over, but I think him and Draymond are the best of this. Name me an active player. They're like Drew Lock, fucking Geno Smith. No way, bro. Players don't ever, even though, on the record, like between themselves, they talk a lot of shit about other players. But like Richard's like, they ain't rolling out Geno Smith. Like who just openly talks like basically saying those two guys suck. They're in the league.
Yeah, but he said it in a pretty professional way.
I'm not trying. I just enjoy Richard. It's just, and he's been like this now for a couple years. Draymond's even way more over the top.
Grew up like
openly
this.
Talk, ripping people, which is how people talk. Like players talk like fans too. Now there's context here. He just knows the way Pete thinks, right? I mean, he spent a lot of time around him.
Yeah. So was that podcast? That was from before Russell Wilson got traded or after?
I think they did a podcast like maybe either that day.
That's from the Russ trade?
The trade had happened, yeah.
So he's talking about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks. And I think from like a Niners perspective, I think you have to be prepared for them to get Deshaun Watson. You have to prepare like the Seahawks are going to be good this year. You have to have the appropriate fear, as Steve Kerr likes to say. I think it's a great line. Like
hope
you can't
prepare. His team doesn't it?
Well, you have to prepare like Drew Lock is not going to be the quarterback you're going to see. So whatever that means, whether that means pass rushers, J.C. Jackson, whatever, you have to prepare like somebody's going to be throwing the ball to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. It's going to make your life hard.
I completely agree with Richard from the sense that Pete Carroll's 70 years old. To think that he's just cool with like resetting and going through a couple tough years, no chance. Even though he's a young-looking 70. That's not the way he's wired. He's going to try to compete. I mean, his whole thing's always compete, but like he's going to try to win. There's a difference between when he first got there, they had to like go through it all. That was a true rebuild. Remember when Pete Carroll first got to Seattle and left SC? I think they set like an NFL record in transactions in a year. It was insane. Trades, cuts. They were operating like Farhan with the 40-man roster. I do believe that they are going to be very, very aggressive to get Deshaun. Now, Deshaun has a no trade clause. Now, obviously, we'll find out more on Friday what the hell's going on with his life. But I mean, Pete's probably a pretty good salesman. But do you think that he was just 100%? Because I think most people view their team sucking. So it's like part of to get me, but you have to give you the 9th pick. Now you got some good offensive weapons.
Seattle doesn't want that pick anyway.
No, I know, but if you're Deshaun, like where do we get good players? Like
what are your options, Deshaun? Let's say you can play football again.
Well, if that's his only option, then yeah.
I mean, he wants to be in Miami, but
Miami's off. I think didn't Chris Greer say they shut the door on that?
Yeah, and Pittsburgh basically said, and the Bucks, Arian said, it's more of an organizational decision. A lot of people have shut the door.
I told someone this today though. If I was on with Gottlieb, if tomorrow, because he's like, what about the optics of Deshaun? Even if tomorrow it all disappears, like I don't know the legality. Well, let's just say tomorrow it's all away and he's innocent, or it's just he has no more charges against him. He's just like any normal other human in society that doesn't have people coming after him. I don't believe there are any optics anymore. I believe he would be fair game for every team that was interested in him. Do you agree with that? Or do you think the optics carry over even if it all goes away without him like cutting a check or something?
Yeah, I don't think it's zero optics because there's still always the chance of, isn't there then the chance of like a civil? I don't know.
I'm just saying. Let's just say it. In my example, it all goes away. It's over.
Gotcha. It just turns out that Cal McNair was paying people to lie about Deshaun Watson.
That would be extreme because that would really exonerate him. Then you could use that. I'm just saying. Yeah, that's extreme because then that's like you'd want to get this guy. You'd want to do him a favor. I'm saying it just goes away. The women, they don't necessarily come out and say they were lying, but it just goes away. It's just
he pays people. What if that's the scenario?
No check.
He settles.
No check. No check.
It's really hard to imagine that scenario, right?
Because the check, there are optics involved in a check, right? Right or wrong?
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the amount?
But if there's no legal proceeding, I think then there becomes
Jerry just paid the former cheerleaders $2.5 million for just guy peeping through the window. I think was his comment. It's different. I mean, yeah, I don't know. To me, the optics thing, if it gets close to being like going away, I don't know. I don't think there's optics given his position and given the player.
Well, I think there's two.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
Yeah, I think there's optics. I do think there are optics. But I also think there's different levels of optics that teams are willing to go through in order to get a player.
Because in your scenario that McNair paid people to do this against him, I think the optics would
then everybody's back on board, right?
And shift into Deshaun, like, you got to go get this guy.
Yeah.
This guy's been screwed. McNair, boot it. He's Donald Sterling 2.0, kick his ass out. And then be like, the new owner would be like, could we just keep Deshaun?
Right.
I think that takes some time.
I think what's unique about the Seahawks is that we'll see what they do, but they don't seem to be in a crazy rush right now in the way that maybe Indy would be, in the way that Pittsburgh is.
Well, there's no urgency on Deshaun until this stuff's kind of figured out. Whether that's
right,
tomorrow,
but I'm
whether
saying
it's in a month.
Does Seattle feel like they have an urgency right now to get another quarterback, unless they're trying to get Derek Carr?
No. Why wouldn't they just traded Russell to Derek Carr?
Straight up.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the,
trade Russell for Derek. Yeah,
for Russell.
Yeah. So I think that's it's weird because on one hand, we do think that, like what Richard said, like Pete's old and Pete isn't trying to lose, but maybe Pete doesn't have a plan. Maybe Pete's just running the Seahawks the best he sees fit. He didn't want to coach Russell Wilson anymore. And it doesn't mean that Pete's sitting there going, I got 3 more years in me. We got to win before I'm done. Maybe Pete looks at it like, no, I'm 70. I'm a young 70. I'm here for the long haul. We're just going to do whatever it is we do. If we have to play this year with Drew Lock, then we got to play this year with Drew Lock. Right?
I think he is a vegetarian.
Oh. Maybe that's how he's looking at it. Like, if I got to play, you know what I mean? Like, I think we assume sometimes I think it's possible that Pete's just going, we're just going to do what's good for this football team. And we got a chance to get rid of Russell. We get value. I don't
think people at the highest level, though, because I've seen it, things are out of your control, but you have options and plans. You wouldn't just trade him without having
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Pete doesn't have a plan for, I'm retiring in 3 years. We have to win another Super Bowl before I retire. That's what my plan.
I agree that.
Because I think we're like, he's old. He must be trying to win one last time before he retires. But maybe he's not thinking about retiring.
Yeah, I doubt he is. I think he has 4 years left on his contract. Like, does Belichick is 70? He doesn't feel like he's going to retire, does he? Anytime soon? Saban's 70. Doesn't feel like he's. I think part of it, these guys feel. I think Saban said it like, what am I going to do? Like, I would imagine if you ask Pete Carroll, he's like, I don't feel any different than I did 7-8 years ago in terms of energy level. Because part of retiring is your love of the game. Do you know what he might tell you? I'm reinvigorated now. I got a new challenge. I got a new competition Tuesdays with Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Yeah, even he would know, like, I play these two guys, I'm not making the playoffs, right? He knows that. If that's my quarterback room, we're in trouble.
But maybe he's going to enjoy building again. I don't know. I'm just trying. Well, my ultimate point is the reason they could make some sense is because, to me, the Seahawks aren't going to do anything kind of crazy. They can wait till October. I mean, I don't think the Seahawks are in a rush right now.
Agreed.
That was my.
Okay, I feel you there.
Eric on the stream says Watson's case is about to be adjudicated. One of my favorite words.
I like that word too.
If he's criminally charged, then he's radioactive, and no one will touch him. If they don't press criminal charges, then he might get traded. Yeah, and I'm saying they might press charges. There's a case, and the Seahawks wait until after that, and then they get him.
I agree there.
So,
I think Richard was almost like, though, he's liable to do it before there's a finality.
Well, and Richard, did he say before the draft? Is that what he said?
No, he just said that Pete will just say that, see the best in it and say the situation and believe what their side's telling him. He didn't say those words, but it was clear what he was insinuating.
Hold on.
Are they gonna put Geno out there? Are they gonna put Drew Lock out there? No, they're not. They're not. They're not on purpose. They're setting themselves up to be in the sweepstakes for Deshaun Watson. I think that these pieces that they're putting together are the pieces that they're going to need to work with the Houston Texans to get Deshaun Watson. I think that Pete will assume the best and think that Deshaun's legal issues will get resolved in the near future before the draft. And they can make a trade with the Houston Texans using some of the pieces, not all of them, some of the pieces that they just got for Russell Wilson.
So you're right. That is what he said. He's saying he thinks Pete would be willing to do a deal.
But you're right too, before
the
draft, because their most valuable asset right now is that 9th pick, right? If I give you the 9th pick for Deshaun Watson, that's a very, very valuable pick. Like we talked about, say what you want about the trade, like ultimately the 9th pick is better than both picks, the Niners and the Rams this year, right? So all picks are not equal. We talked about it for years with the Khalil Mack trade. Like that is a specific pick. Like you know the number on it. So if I'm the Texans, you're drafting 3 and you get 9, and you're getting rid of a player that's not playing for you anyway. So maybe I give you a 9 and 2 2s because no one else is trading for him right now.
Right.
You could turn 9 into like 15, add another 2,
and there's no end in sight.
No end in sight.
Not on purpose.
Could they turn down 9 and 2 2s?
I mean, they've waited this long. Is there ever a scenario where they get nothing? Deshaun Watson just out of the league?
I think you'd have to just. Is it worth even risking that? You could argue just pick 9 in next year's one. Now, if you give us Deshaun Watson, more than likely, like we're going to win 9 games minimum.
Well, I'll tell you, it is. If we're doing multiple picks, what you're right, obviously would be. It's the perfect situation for picks that. Conditional picks.
Oh yeah,
9 and 2 2s, and one of those 2s becomes a 1 if he's eligible to play by October 1st.
I agree.